Hey everybody, it's Chris. Welcome back to another look at Deadly Class. This time, we're going to be taking a look at episode 9. So let's just jump in and start it up. If this is your first time here, I take TV shows and movies based on books and compare and contrast them to the source material. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of my future videos, and click that notification icon to join the notification squad, as it were, and be the first to know when something new drops. So just a quick warning here, since I do take the TV show and the source material and contrast them, there is a chance that I might convey some information that is spoilery in its nature. If that is a problem for you, go ahead and turn this off, and you could always come back and watch these videos after the season is done. Okay, with that out of the way, I think it's time to just jump in and get this thing going. Okay, first up we have Leave Off the Bluegrass People. I mean, come on, look, I am from Kentucky and I have played in a bluegrass band and sang in a bluegrass band, and it is, if not the most difficult form of music to perform, one of the most difficult, and I, for one, am just tired of seeing this cliche hillbillies playing banjos, Toothless Joe crap in these TV shows and movies. It's an unfair stereotype. It's unrealistic and just terrible, so please stop. And with that, we'll get into the actual review of this episode. Okay, next up we have Heart to Heart. This exchange between Master Lin and Marcus was new for the show, and it was chilling. I love the idea that Lin sees a younger version of himself in Marcus, and all that entails. It could really change the way the show handles their characters going forward, which is incredibly exciting given what we're spiraling headlong into. Okay, next up we have Lex. This was a very fascinating change from the source material. As I mentioned in the last episode, Lex is very, very different from what we find in the comic, especially the moment where he responds to the change the world with a bullet bit in the show. I really liked how they added the piece where Petra helps convince Lex to go on this mission with them, because that was not in the source material either, but it was a nice moment for their relationship, and you get to see more of how Lex actually feels about Petra and kind of how Petra feels about Lex as well. I really also liked how they spread Marcus's dialogue around to the other members of the Scooby Gang, if you will, in the show. And in the comic, it's basically just him yelling at Lex, trying to convince him to get on board. So it was nice to have the entire group joining in and persuading him in the show. So nice job, writers. Next up, we have Willie not playing along. In the comic, Willie is 100% down with the plan to take out Chester and his family in the comic, but I do like how they have changed it up for the show. He is way more complex in the show than he was in the source material, and that is only helping his character actually matter outside of the confines of being Marcus's best friend, which he was pretty much just sidelined into in the comic. And I've been really impressed with how the actor has been portraying Willie and taking this material they're giving him and making it real on the screen. So fantastic job there. I really do like this version of Willie way better than what we see in the comics. Okay, next up we have the concert. This was a very interesting change from the comic book. In the comic, Saya takes Marcus to the punk concert, just the two of them, and they have this whole moment of togetherness, and you have Marcus learning about punk culture, which was really beautiful because you can tell the author of the comic really got what made punk culture in the 80s special, and was communicating that through the source material, and you get that 100% in the show as well. I also really liked how they combined this moment with Lex getting the explosive they needed for later with the plan with Chester and his family, and it gave them a plausible reason for the entire gang to be there instead of just Saya and Marcus. But then of course they give you the moment where Saya and Marcus are alone, which allows them to get to the moment everyone's been waiting for, which is them physically getting together. but don't get too excited yet. One of the things I really loved about the show that was a big difference from the comic was that in the comic you have Marcus telling you about the guy who knocks him over in the mosh pit and then picks him up and they run around, but you don't actually see any panels of it. It's just him relating what happened to Saya. So being able to see that moment realized on the screen was fantastic, because again, it was another beautiful moment of real storytelling about the punk movement in the 80s and how it wasn't about anger and hate and punching everyone. It was more about togetherness in this collective cry against society and seeing as society as something that was bad and needed to change. So fantastic job on that part of the writers. Next up, we have opening the comic shop. So this was a perfect change from the source material. In the comic, you have Marcus waking up after he has his night with Saya and they're in the park and everything, just like you see in the show, but he looks at his watch and realizes he's 2 hours late for opening the comic shop. And again, that's all in the show, but the main difference here is that there's just a special sale going on today that he was late opening for, and that was why he was so adamant about getting there, and he was running and got sick and all of that other stuff. It never really jived with his character that he would really care that much about a bunch of wet-nosed kids having to wait 2 hours to get their comic books. Making it about the C4 that's hidden in the comic shop makes it all way more plausible and way more compelling in the show. So probably the best change in this episode, in my opinion, was having the C4 there as the reason that Marcus reacts so violently almost about being late to opening the comic shop. So fantastic job. Next up, we have Master Lin and Saya. This was a really fantastic new addition to the show, and it makes sense given how they have changed Master Lin's story for the show and made him more complex and given him that secret family that he did not have in the comics. It was also nice because we really don't know anything in depth about the relationship between Master Lin and Saya from the comics, other than she reports to him and he sends her on missions, and she primarily just does exactly what he says without any kind of dissent. So having their relationship be more nuanced in the show and then giving us the ability to see that nuance was fantastic and a real bright moment for me in character development and plot development in this episode. Next up, we have a family matter. I am super happy that this is how they shook out the whole story of Master Lin and his sister. I hope it goes without saying that this was new for the show, but if it doesn't, it is new for the show, and man, it was great. From having Brandy and Victor be double agents for Lin, to how easily Lin's sister evaded them, it was just a really exciting, beautiful moment in the episode that was I didn't see coming because it was completely out of left field and had no context from the comic, and it really played into the mystique of the assassin, which I think has been missing quite a bit from this season, if I'm honest. They established the setting, and then it's more like a teen drama with some murder thrown in, as opposed to really grounded in the idea of it being an academy for assassins, which you did get more of in the comic, even though they didn't spend as much time exploring the school, which is a really interesting comparison there. That in the show we get way more about the school and the classes they're attending, but it feels less like an Assassin's Academy driven show, whereas we see way less of it in the comic, but you never forget the world they're living in. So it's interesting to see that and how it shakes out. Okay, and lastly, we have Chico's father. So this was way out of left field and really well done. Since Lin doesn't have a family in the comic, this moment never even has the chance to happen. In the comic, Chico is killed and they think he's missing, and his father is looking for him and has Maria doing it, and then eventually they do show up with all of the Mexican cartel assassins and all of that stuff, but it has nothing to do with Lin at all, and certainly not Lin's family. So this was a really interesting and important moment in the show, and I know this is going to sound weird, but it was a really beautiful moment for Lin's wife, is the strength of character and the love she has for her child. And she's apparently an assassin at some point, or has been trained by Lin, which was really beautiful to see. But seeing her, the look on the actress's face when she sees Chico's father about to kill their daughter, and she just stands up right in the line of fire. And from the look on her face and the emotion and the way it's blocked from a scene standpoint, it is obvious that she knew what she was doing. It was not an accident. She just stood up and happened to be in the line of fire. She locked eyes with Lin and gave her life for her daughter and for Lin, to give them the moment they needed to get out. And it was just an incredibly powerful moment in the episode. And it was a great moment for her because she's been very much under the radar the whole season. You pops in and out, and we didn't even know who she was for most of it. So allowing her character to leave the show on this moment was just spectacular. So brave and fantastic job to the writers and to the actor who played that part. I mean, just beautiful work from a fan. So yeah, okay, that is it for me. It was a lot of words, so I'm gonna drink some coffee here. This was a great episode, a spectacular way to build momentum for the next episode, which is of course the end of the season, and pretty amazing, and is going to be really crazy given the changes I already know they have made to that story. So looking forward to doing that video, but just a heads up, I'm about to leave and go out of town, so that video will not hit the channel until next week. But it will hit next week, and I know I promised you a book recommendation for this episode, but I was not able to do that. It will definitely be in the next episode, and as I mentioned in my previous video, I am going to do a book club live stream kind of thing. I'm going to do one to test it. I haven't decided how it's going to work yet, but we'll pick a book and we'll read, I don't know, some portion of it, and then have like a check-in live stream video where we can talk about it. You can ask questions, and we can really kind of come to terms with the novel. So I'm looking forward to doing that and seeing how it goes. If you have any questions or comments about that, leave them in the comments, or you can find me on the community tab of this channel. So yeah, I think that's it. You can go home now. I guess that's all left for me to say is have a good day and read a good book. That's what I'm gonna do. Take it easy, internet.